Have you ever wondered what any of the lights on this display panel meant and just couldn't really find it in the manual? Today, we're going to tell you about all of them. So there are a lot of lights on this panel. And as some of you have found out, they're not the easiest documented thing in the manual either. In fact, it even gets really weird because different models may have slightly different panels and the manual kind of covers all of them at one time and makes it even more confusing. Now, because of that, I'm going to show you ours and what a lot of the lights are on ours, but your model may be slightly different. So if the picture that you saw a few seconds ago doesn't really look like yours, then you're probably not on the right video. Now, these are a little bit hard to kind of see on film, so we're going to try to bring the camera in and show you these. So when you walk up and just touch the panel, the ones that come up. We're going to start with the ones you see first and then go into some of the sub-menus that come after that. Okay, so let's just start off with the simple one is this right here. Basically, this is for your ice maker, and it tells you what kind of ice do you want. Do you want cubed or do you want crushed? Basically, this one just cycles back and forth between the two, and that's it. These are cubes, crushed. This one button just goes back and forth between the two. The top one is for cubes, and the bottom is for the crusher. Now, you'll notice right now that our light has nothing here at all. That's because our light right now is turned off because the wife likes it dark as a dungeon.
Yep.
And the lights that it's talking about basically are kind of up under here, under your paddles. The first click you're going to go into is full bore, everything is on. In this mode, there are two sets of lights that are on. Both your pads have lights on them. It's kind of hard to tell here because you've got a light here as well. But these rings are kind of lit up. There's a backlight in these to kind of light these pads up a little bit. In addition, you've got a light directly here that's kind of shining in this whole area. This is always on. These will never go off. It stays in this way with both your light here and your pads. Now, if we go one click in, it removes part of your light bulb. The same things are illuminated. They just get a little bit dimmer. So it's just not quite as bright as it was before. The next step beyond that is called pads. What that does is completely turn the light in the front off and only your pads are illuminated. And you'll notice that it does say pads on. So that means that they are always lit. It's never going to turn off. The pads will always be lit. The next step is off.
That's where I like it.
This is where the wife likes it. Now, even though it shows nothing here, when I push on one of these, you will notice that it will light up briefly.
And make noise.
The reason it's making that noise is because of order filter.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
So even with the lights completely off, it will light up when you press on the pads. It's just not an always on light. Basically, if you're seeing something on that display, it means it's in always on mode. Either both lights full, both lights dim, or pads only. Those are the three on options. In the off option, nothing is lit permanently, but it does still light up when you push it with a cup. Now, next is temperature. This one gets a little bit more involved because this is one of those hold 3 seconds. Just pressing it, it'll do that, but it won't actually do anything because you've got to press and hold and watch that counter time down. Now you go into a sub-menu. You'll also notice that these buttons have kind of been relabeled. So where before they're the white writing down here, now this blue writing has kind of taken the place. Right here it says fridge. This temp button is now select zone. So if I press this button again, we're going to change from fridge to freezer. So basically this select zone switches between your fridge and your freezer. Which one am I attempting to change the temperature on? Now units, that's simple. If you're correct, you're in Fahrenheit. The entire rest of the world that's wrong, it will say Celsius.
Fight us in the comments.
Instead of light, it's now units, and that's going to change over here from your Fahrenheit to your Celsius. Back, as you can imagine, is just exactly what it says. You want to go back on menu level. So if I hit this button, it's going to carry us back out of that menu. So then I'm going to have to press and hold temp again to get back in. You select your zones to go between your fridge. I'm sure you can imagine now your up and down arrows are what these are. This is simply going to change your temperature. You'll notice at the very top, we've got the word recommended. That means that it's at the temperature that the default manufacturer's recommended temperature. For our fridge, that is 37 degrees Fahrenheit. If I go down to 36, you'll notice that that disappears. If I go up, I'll get back on it, and then if I go even higher, it goes away.
Also, when you go down, it will say confirm.
So anytime you go down or up, confirm will start flashing. What that means is you can change these all you want to, and until you confirm, nothing is there. So right now we're at 38. If I hit confirm, now I have actually changed it, and it goes back into that main menu. We'll see that it's now at 38, the one that I confirmed. We do not have the recommended, so I'm going to go down one to that. Confirm pops back up. We're going to confirm. And that is pretty much it. Again, if you go and you select your zone, you go to freezer, everything works exactly the same. Units will go back and forth to your settings. 0 happens to be our recommended. You can change your temperature up and down. You confirm when you're done, and when you want to go out, you just go back. Or as you notice, when you confirm, it actually also carries you back out. Now the next one is fairly easy. That's your lock. It's a digital lock. So where the child lock you put on the outside keeps the rugrat from crawling in and becoming a popsicle, this keeps them from going in here and messing with your settings and turning it up to 400 degrees.
And making your popsicles a soup.
Yeah, turn your popsicles into a soup. Basically, it's another thing of press and hold 3 seconds, and that's going to lock it. So press and hold, 3, 2, 1, and it goes to this little locked icon. You'll notice that basically nothing.
You can't do anything.
And it basically beeps at you when you try. Now to unlock it, as you can imagine, press and hold 3 seconds, which is strange. It's like if the kids can figure the other part out, they can probably figure this out too. Nowadays, they're probably smarter than we are. And now it's unlocked again. Now, one specific question we had was about a little red door icon that comes up, and that one's going to come up over here. That one is actually very easy. Both the fridge and the freezer have a physical switch inside. And when the doors open, that switch opens, turns the lights on, and illuminates that. So anytime your freezer is open or your fridge is open enough to activate that switch, you're going to see this light on here that indicates door ajar.
Door ajar? No, door's a door.
Now with the freezer, it's kind of because it has to be so ajar, you're going to see it. So I'll start with the fridge first. So like almost as soon as you do it a little bit, light comes on. But for the freezer, it takes a while before that switch actually activates. This is what turned those lights on and off. And on the fridge, it's actually this thing right here. In fact, this brings up a point because for the longest time, I thought that this was added related to this little milk tray, the little butter tray thing that you may or may not be able to get here. But it turns out this piece is actually specifically designed just to push this switch. And in fact, there is a technical service bulletin that sometimes this does not contact that well enough and your inside light will stay on, which actually will break your ice maker. It makes your ice maker stop working as well. So if you have a problem with your ice not working, one thing to consider is this turning your light off and actually causing your problem? So if your doors are solidly closed and you've got that red light on, that means that one of those switches has been activated saying that the door is open, which is going to really mess things up. So if you see a red indicator here, that means that switch is in an open position and something is broken and needs to be addressed. Likely that technical service bulletin, but it could be other things in that circuit as well. Now you'll notice right here we have an order filter light. The way this works is that it monitors when your water filter needs to be replaced, and when it's getting close, you get order filter, meaning, hey, it's time to order one and get it ready. Then an undetermined amount of time. I don't know what the factors are, like how many.
I think it's 6 months. I think at 5 months it turns the light on, and at 6 months.
Oh, so it actually is timer based, not usage based?
I think so.
Oh, that's weird. Makes sense. I mean, that's a lot cheaper than it is to do things that are actually usage based. You need a little indicator. Order filter means it's time to order your new filter. Eventually that's going to flip down to a red one down here that says replace filter. Those are the two things related to your filter, and it's talking about the filter in the fridge, inside the fridge. Ours is located inside. Some of them are actually located down in the bottom in some of the other slightly different models. And speaking of filters, that's an excellent segue to this other video where we show you how to save a lot of money on the every drop filter that comes with this thing. And in case you're interested in that, we will leave a link below or somewhere at the end of this video to tell you about or link you to that other video so you can watch that if you care. Now that leaves us with two primary things: options and measured fill. These are a little bit more complicated. So let's start off with options. Some of these are fairly easy. Fast ice. Right now, it's off. If I push this button, fast ice is on.
What is fast ice?
Basically, now there's physics. Ice freezes at a certain rate. The only way to make ice faster is to make your refrigerator colder. When you turn fast ice on, the temperature inside of your freezer drops even colder than whatever it's set to for a limited amount of time. I forget exactly how long it is. I'll try to look that up and give you put it up on the screen exactly how long that is. But it basically just makes your freezer colder so that the ice will freeze faster and it can cycle faster. That's what fast ice is. It's a temporary setting. It will illuminate this, and maybe like within a 24-hour period, it will cut off and go back to its normal setting. Now, I wonder if you can turn fast ice off manually. Yes, you can manually turn fast ice off also. Sound off. In fact, let's see. So, and I'm going to go back. Nothing.
No sound.
So let's go back in. Press it again. Go back out.
Yep. It's sound of...
The keypad.
Yep. So I do not want sound, so can you go turn that back off?
Now, filter reset. So let's say you don't want to go watch our video about how to save money on this filter and replace it now. You want to wait till later. I may or may not have been guilty of resetting this before it's actually been replaced. If you just want to make that light go away, this is the button that will actually make that light. So basically, once you've changed your filter, just like on your vehicle nowadays, they go into your menus and they basically set reset my oil change indicator. This is exactly what that is. Once that filter has been replaced, you go into your options and you hit the filter reset to reset that counter for the next time that the filter needs to be changed. Now, and as you see, that's really all that's in here. Fast ice, sound off and on, and filter reset. That's the only thing in the options that you have. Measured fill is complicated. This gets back to that other thing with the filter reset. The system doesn't measure how much water is going through it. It does it purely based off timers. You program it to say, this many seconds, I get this much quantity. And then it calculates that out to say, oh, if I want this much quantity, I need to run for this many seconds. Now, if you're on a well, that gets interesting because your pressure on your pressure tank will go up and down. And at different pressures, you're going to get different amounts of water. So if you're on a well system, something that's not pressure regulated to an exact amount, you're going to have issues getting this to be exact. As long as your house pressure never changes, this is a good option. So let's just kind of step through how it works, and I'll show you some of the different things in that menu. Again, this is one we just press, and we get a sub-menu. Units here goes between liters, ounces, and cups. So those are your three different ways you can do it.
We typically leave it on ounces.
Up and down to go up and down, just like it was before. How many ounces do I want? We're going to drop it down, back down to 8.
And we're going to show you here on our well that 8 ounces doesn't actually mean 8 ounces.
So once you get it there, you put your thing under there and you hit the dispense button. And without touching anything, it just runs the exact amount that you want it to do. That said, it was 8 ounces, and it's about a 1/8 of an inch below 8 ounces. Now, and there is an option to calibrate this. You'll actually notice there is a calibrate measured fill. You have to like hit and hold 2 buttons at the same time. It will tell you, put in 8 ounces. And then you fill this to 8 ounces and you hit stop, and it will lock it in. But again, as long as your pressure stays the same, that's good. Your pressure changes, that's no longer accurate. But let's see if we can give you an idea of what it looks like to go through that process. So to calibrate the system, you have to press and hold options and lock for 3 seconds at the same time. And now you're in calibrate mode. Calibrate 1 cup. What I have to do now is pour exactly 1 cup. So once you've got your 1 cup done, it comes up and says confirm. If you hit that confirm button, then you have recalibrated your system so that it knows, okay, well, you said that was 1 cup. It took me 4 seconds of running. I know that for 1 cup, I need to run for 4 seconds. That's all this thing does, is set a time for how long it takes to get to that point, and then it converts for any other number you're trying to do. We did not do exactly 8 ounces. I do not want to confirm this. I'm going to go back. Now, the last light that's on here is kind of weird, and that is cooling off. Basically, it means your fridge is off. Now, I've heard that some models of Whirlpool are designed where if the power goes off, it doesn't automatically come back on. You have to manually restart it, and that light's kind of an indicator of that. Basically, if you press and hold these two buttons, it goes into cooling off. What that is this is basically the exact same thing as removing the power cord on the back. It literally shuts your fridge off. The cooling is off. The light still works. Basically, it turns off all of the cooling components, the compressors, the fans, everything related to actually making it cold turns off. The light still works, you can see things, but it's just not actually doing any cooling. Honestly, it's like, when would you, I don't see a point that you would ever really use this feature. That's what the light means, basically, is you press and hold these, it goes into cooling off. You press and hold it again, it turns it back on. It basically just cycles the cooling mechanism on the fridge. Right. And freezer, because they work in tandem as a combo. Yep. If there was something in here that you've run across that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can find out for you. And if you found this helpful, hey, consider doing the usual things. Subscribe and all that fancy stuff. Helps out the channel, helps us out as well. As promised, if you want to find out about that cheaper filter and how to replace that filter, watch this video over here. Or, if that's not the one you see, it might be the one about how to get the dust out from under here. Because yes, while the manual doesn't really mention it, you do need to clean your dust every so often.
Okay, can you stop? You're annoying me.